Hello there. Today I will be ranking all of our players from who I think is most likely to win, to least likely, in a tier list. This will be based on how their game is looking going into next week, their potential long-term prospects, and how I think the edit is factoring into their chances to win or go far. This ranking is my own personal opinion, and will probably change massively from week to week, but these are my thoughts after episode 8. I also want to point out that tiers are not ordered in any particular way. The person who was voted out this week was Hai, who was blindsided by the tribe. Hai's position in the game has been trending downwards for the past few weeks since he lost Lydia, even though he did not realize it himself. I think Hai was ultimately too aggressive in the beginning of the merge, which made him too big of a threat to stay in the game. It was also unfortunate for Hai that Mike completely bought Omar's lie, which meant that his closest ally had turned on him, giving him little chance to come back from that. Hai was a solid player this season, so he will be missed by me. First in the D tier this week is Romeo, who remains in the D tier from last week. This was a quiet episode from Romeo, and another week where he is on the bottom of the tribe. At this point, Romeo has no power on the merged tribe, and the only one he trusts is Omar, who does not share the same sentiment. I fear that Romeo is near drawing dead at this point, as even if he stays in the game until the end, I don't think he will win if he gets there. Romeo needs to try to pull off some big moves to gain respect, and if that doesn't happen he will end up becoming a goat at the end. First in the C tier this week is Jonathan, who falls from the A tier from last week. Jonathan has been on a decline in the game recently, as his main allies in Lindsay and Omar no longer trust him enough to continue working with him long term. Jonathan is also still a huge threat in the immunity challenges, so if he were to lose next week I would be very afraid for his game. Jonathan's saving grace is that he is close with Mike, so if he can get together with Mike to make moves in the game, I could see Jonathan getting back into a power position in the game. Time will tell for Jonathan whether he can stick around or leave us soon. First in the B tier this week is Marianne, who rises from the C tier from last week. This was a solid week from Marianne, as the main thing that happened to her this week is finding an idol. This means that she will be safe at least another week if she can realize she will go home, but she can also use her idol to gain power in the game. If she can form a late-game relationship with someone using the idol, it could slingshot her into a power position in the game, potentially getting out a big threat. One other great thing for Marianne is that she seems to be sliding under the radar, as she hasn't been the primary target in recent votes, which is great for her chances to get to the final 4. Next in the B tier is Drea, who rises from the C tier this week. This was a quiet week for Drea, as she comes off of playing her idol in the previous tribal council, which means she lost some power in the game. However, Drea is seemingly not a primary target currently, which could mean she can skate by 1 or 2 votes without being targeted. Drea has a lot of power in the game still at this point, with her 3 advantages she can use, which only get more powerful as the game goes on. I do worry for Drea that she doesn't seem to have any particularly strong allies, so she needs to try and get into a better position for future votes for a higher chance to win. First in the A tier this week is Mike, who remains in the A tier from last week. This was not the best week for Mike, as he bought into Omar's lie that Hai considered him a puppet, causing Mike to lose his closest ally in Hai. However, Mike is still in a solid position in the game, as he has close allies in Omar and Jonathan, and doesn't seem to be an immediate threat to anyone in that game. Mike also has his idol, which if it isn't stolen can be a powerful asset this late into the game, and if it is ultimately stolen then that actually will lessen his threat as well. While Mike did buy Omar's lie this week, Mike still has sway in the game by gunning for Hai and sending him home, which shows he does have the respect of his peers for the end. Next in the A tier is Lindsay, who rises from the B tier for the first time this entire season. Lindsay has been trending upwards in the game, as she seems to have come into a power position in the game. With Hai gone, Lindsay has gained the power of a steal a vote advantage, which can be beneficial in these lower numbers, but also still has the potential to gain an idol if Drea leaves. Lindsay seems to be working in close proximity with Omar, and has gained the trust of Mike this episode this well based on the reward. Lindsay is an emerging threat late into the game, and time will tell if she can pull off a win. First in the S tier and last on the tier list this week is Omar, who remains in the S tier from last week. This was an amazing week from Omar, as he was able to get his main target out in high. He told a great lie to Mike this week, severing a close connection in the game that he was not a part of. He also has the trust of seemingly everyone in the game at this point, even Romeo, who has nobody else to work with. On top of this, Omar is not on anyone's radar as a big threat, which means he has a high threat to make it through the next few votes. Omar is in the biggest power position in the game at this point, and he is running circles around the rest of the cast. If nobody realizes what Omar is doing, then I think he has a very high chance of winning the game, but you never know in Survivor. There is my current tier list of who I think is most likely to win and make it far. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and I am unspoiled this season, and this is very subject to change. We will see if anyone else will be able to rise to the S tier, and I am interested to see how the rest of the season will shake out. Thanks for watching.